Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network and another episode of Friends of Best Ball. I'm Meg, and you can find me on Twitter at Megs08DFS. And I'm, of course, joined by my brother, Steve. You can find him at SteveOSpeak. And our friend of Best Ball today is Sam Sherman. He is the co-host of Ship Chasing, and you can follow him at Sherman_FFB on Twitter. Sam, we love your Best Ball content. Both on Ship Chasing and Twitter. You have helped us a ton this off season. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks to both Meg and Steve for having me on. Glad you found the research helpful. I've been spending a lot of time this off season doing best ball research. So yeah, you can find that there. And I'm excited to apply some of that research and do a draft with you guys today. Should be fun.
Yeah, well, one of the main things we want to talk about, and then we will jump into a BBM4 draft, of course, is kind of your take on the running back landscape. You know, we're in this wide receiver avalanche landscape on underdog drafts, especially, ironically, even more so than others. And you've had a lot of good data threads and data and threads and information on Twitter. And I know I found, your show that you did with Leone earlier this summer incredibly interesting. And it helped me because I used to be like push the zero RB thing a little too much, I think. And it helped kind of open my eyes to, especially with underdog scoring, which is, really touchdown hunting, half point PPR. To give more consideration that running backs can be in the flex and, how important the running back position still is. It's ironic that they've kind of been devalued in the real world, and now they've kind of been devalued in fantasy drafts this year. So kind of talk a little bit about your research with, running back scoring specifically. I know that's broad. And then I will obviously ask more specific questions.
Yeah. So a couple things I'll hit on. You mentioned the flex. I think one thing I found in my research, I'd often heard on Twitter and on podcasts that you should think of the flex as a fourth wide receiver position. When you actually look at the data, it turns out that running backs hit the flex slightly more than wide receiver. It's quite close. So I think it's really more fair to think about the flex as a half running back, half wide receiver position, really more than only thinking of it as wide receiver position. And sort of how I'd apply that to this year's landscape is, I think in the past when running backs were really expensive and wide receivers were cheaper, it was kind of optimal to draft as if you wanted to fill that flex with the wide receiver. I think you can make the case that the wide receivers would project better at the prices of, 2019, 2020 even. Now, I think there's a lot of cases where you can make the case that you might want to be drafting as if you can fill that flex with a running back that you can get in the 7th round. These dead zone profiles that we used to see go in the 3rd or 4th round are going much later. So that's just one piece there where, it's not to say that I am taking 4 running backs off the start of my drafts. Like I still think you need to prioritize wide receiver. I do want to try to get, 4 wide receivers or so by round 8, something like that I generally try to do. But I'd suggest that folks be flexible in thinking about the flex position. And when you do get a huge value on, your 3rd running back in the 6th round, it's okay to say, okay, I'm actually playing sort of this team as if running back is going to be my flex position when you're getting such discounted prices on these players. So that's one thing I looked at, and I'll stop there. If you guys have any questions, also happy to talk about some of the other stuff I looked into, but that was a big one. It's not being so stubborn and saying, the wide receiver or the flex position is a wide receiver spot. That's not really true.
And that's what I used to be, is stubborn about that. Steve, go ahead with any follow-up questions you have.
Well, one thing, and I know is in your research and just some stuff that I, off your research, I definitely looked into is, I think a lot of people would then push back and say, oh, wide receivers give the higher upside. We think of these, like, obviously last year, the Mike Evans final week of fantasy, in the year before Jamar Chase. We think of those, but I know your research kind of pointed to this, and I know you go back even further, but I just looked at it, and running backs had more 20-point games and 30-point games than wide receivers last year. And of course, teams can, have more wide receivers on the field. So you would just expect wide receivers to dominate that. And I just wanted you to touch on like the spike weeks that we're obviously hunting for in best ball.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I looked at it, and to your point, the running backs do have. So I looked at different sort of thresholds, and for instance, I looked at essentially. So I looked at sort of points above replacement, but you can basically think of it as like points, 25-point weeks. If you look at the number of 25-point weeks over the last 10 years, running backs actually give you higher odds of getting that huge spike week of 25 plus points. One, I think they're actually slightly ahead in just the raw number of 25-point weeks. But then you have to consider, right? Like in a typical draft, only 45 running backs get drafted versus like 90 wide receivers or something. You know, actually, no, I think it's more like 60 running backs and 90 wide receivers, something like that. Like once you consider that, it's like the odds of getting a spike week from a running back are actually higher than wide receiver. So I think again, this isn't saying like you gotta have 3 wide receivers in your starting lineup in Underdog. Like that's a big factor. You do need to care about wide receivers, but this perception that like the wide receivers are the spikier position or they're more volatile or give you more spike weeks, like that's just not really true. No matter how you cut it. Look at the last 3 years, look at the last 10 years, put whatever point threshold you want on there. It's just not really true. So I get why people like think it's true. It sort of sounds true when you think of, you know, MVS catching a 90-yard bomb from Aaron Rodgers. Like it makes sense, right? That you think that's a spikier, more volatile position, but it's not really true in the data that I looked into.
Yeah, well, it certainly has helped me, especially for Underdog. You know, maybe on DraftKings and drafters, I maybe am a little more zero RB. But when it comes to the building of it, does that lean you into more of like the certainly hero or double hero RB as opposed to zero RB builds? Do you find yourself doing that more on Underdog, or I'm sure you diversify your different build strategies? But how does it work for you from a build perspective? I agree with you, first of all, for making sure to deal with the avalanche of receivers, you still have to get those 4 receivers by round 8. But then how do you kind of prioritize those top tier running backs in your build strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I am pretty flexible. I'd say this year I've leaned more into a hero running back or double hero running back, like 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, call it, than I have in years past, just because the prices are so depressed on some of these guys. So yeah, that's generally how I've approached it. Like I'm quite heavy on the guys like Tony Pollard, someone like Nick Chubb. He was going around like late second round for a while, so I absolutely hammered him there. I've been able to sort of hold off as he's risen because I had so much already, but have pretty big exposure to him. Unfortunately, I was the guy drafting, you know, Brees and Ramondre. Maybe I missed there, didn't price in the risk as much. Those guys have fallen. So those are unique situations to talk about anyways. Of course, I was pretty heavy on the sort of the second and third round running backs. But yeah, again, I'll reiterate, like I pretty much always do 4 wide receivers through 8. So I'm not like deprioritizing wide receiver. I would say I'm lighter on the position that I am probably underweight on relative to most drafters is the elite tight end, because I'm taking a lot of these running backs early and I don't want to get boxed out of wide receiver. I have been building a lot with a couple tight ends late. But yeah, you're
talking our language, because we love the late round tight end strategy. Steve just did a 2-part series on obviously the rookie tight ends and how that can be different this year compared to previous years of rookie tight ends and making an instant impact. We are definitely very bullish on the rookie tight ends. We have had a couple of drafts together where we call it the rookie tight end special, and it's 3 rookie tight ends that are later. What can go wrong? Yeah, exactly. What can go wrong with that? No, but I mean, we are very bullish on that and just the late round tight ends, because like you said, something's kind of got to give. So yeah, with wanting to still, you know, prioritize receiver, like in the top 10 rounds, what's like the perfect draft for you? Like what positional distribution wise? Would it be 0 tight ends and then?
Yeah, I'd say like my most common is something like 1 quarterback, 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers, 0 tight ends through 10.
Yeah.
That's how,
like,
yeah.
yeah. That's my standard build, but I do think there is certainly value in the elite tight ends if you hit on the right one. Like, I'm not closing my eyes to that. I think one of these elite tight ends will sort of make me pay for fading them. So I do like the ones I like better. I do like Mark Andrews. I'd say the 2 that I like most out of the elite tight ends are Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. I just think in Baltimore, the pass volume is going to be really good. And I think Andrews has shown us that ceiling 2 years ago. You know, he was basically put up, you know, elite wide receiver stats 2 years ago. And I think he was maybe on track to do that last year before injuries kind of plagued Baltimore. So I like him a lot. And I like Hawkinson, kind of similar reasons. You certainly have to squint more, but I think the pass volume in Minnesota is going to be really good. He really flashed at the end of last year. He was, you know, a good prospect. So I do like those 2. The other ones I've been mostly holding off of, even Kelsey, which is a scary fade. I do have some Kelsey, but I like the odds of Eckler, AJ Brown, Bijan Robinson. I like the odds of those guys to really separate from their respective positions. Plus, you need to start more of them at their positions than Kelsey. So I'm going to be a little underweight Kelsey, which is scary. He'll probably have a great season. I'm just kind of betting that I can replicate his points with a couple guys later easier than I can replicate, say, Austin Eckler or Bijan Robinson or, you know, Stephon Diggs's points.
Right. Yeah. And then Steve, I know you probably have another question. One other thing I wanted to say is, I know you made a good point in some threads, and I know that show with Mike Leone about, like, you know, getting like a top running back in, like, say, the 2nd or 3rd round compared to a receiver that's like, could be the receiver, you know, wide receiver 20. To me, like, you know, you're comparing Nick Chubb to, even though I love guys like a Jalen Waddle or something like that. Like, that's, you know, to me, that's what you're comparing. And that's what people were just absolutely breezing by. Now, of course, now Nick Chubb has risen up, but, you know, I think those were excellent points that you were making earlier in the summer. I think some people are starting to catch up with Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard, but, you know, you got me on that earlier. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, that group, it's funny because that group, it kind of went 2 ways. Like, Chubb, Pollard, Henry, I would say, all saw like huge rises in their ADP, and I'm like really happy I was hammering them in the 3rd. But then like Jacobs, Ramondre, Brees all obviously went in the opposite direction. So I think, like, all in all, like 3 or 4 wins, 3 or 4 losses. Like, we'll see how it shakes out. So maybe I got you on some winners, and I also got you on some landmines. I don't know, but
I don't know about that, because it's all going to be, you know, results at the end of the season. And hey, you know, by the end of the season, if Brees Hall is, you know, really that RB1, it still could be the good play. Obviously, Jacobs sounds like it, as we all knew, was going to give and come back. And I still think Ramondre's the guy. So I think they're still going to pay off. Before we jump into a draft, Steve, any other follow-up questions for Sam?
No. I mean, I think I'm very much in line, though. I'm more like Kelsey or bust when it comes to the elite tight ends, just because it is that opportunity cost for these tight ends, like even Hawkinson and Andrews. Unless Andrews does what he did 2 years ago, you know, and I would have more Andrews if I could stack him with Lamar more, but it's almost impossible.
It's so hard,
unless you do it like
frustrating with him.
You know, at the 2-3 on coming back. That's about it. So, yeah, I wish that was a more easier stack to get, but.
Okay, well, we're going to jump into a BBM4 draft together. And Steve, if you have any other, you know, follow-up questions for Sam, definitely throw them out.
So, and just to your point about, like, while she's jumping in about some of the running backs, you know, rising and others falling, you know, I still think like a guy like Ramondre, especially, I mean, Hall is obviously a more unique situation. It's all injury dependent, I feel like, but like a guy like Ramondre, you know, I still think he can outscore a lot of those receivers at the 2-3 turn, potentially, you know, like, just because they're likely not the alphas on their team, and maybe like a Ridley who's steamed up to that range. But you know, like Higgins is, unless Chase gets hurt, like Higgins is going to have a tough time being like a top 10 wide receiver. And kind of those in Olave and those types of situations. So I still think it could end up paying out those types of guys, Jacobson and Ramondre especially.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think, especially since it doesn't seem like they're going to fall all the way around to like maybe a couple people will get Ramondre at pick 48, 49. And that's kind of a bummer if you took him at 24 and now people are getting him all the way around there. But he actually isn't falling that much. Like I think he's like 36 or 37.
Yeah, it hasn't fallen too much. Yeah.
So,
it is starting. And we got pick number 6. So what do you usually like to do out of the 6th spot, Sam?
I'll take I have a slight fade on Kelsey. So I will take any of those top 6 players that's not Kelsey. So for me, I am Eckler, or honestly, I've been mixing in Bijan even here if you want to do that. But I would be if one of those 2 wide receivers falls, I would like them.
Because sometimes somebody does jump up and get somebody else, and then you can still get one of the top 5.
I don't think if you guys like Kelsey, like I'm interested in. Oh, we're gonna get.
Well, let's get Cup.
Yeah, that's an easy call for me. I love.
Yeah, that's an easy call. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that worked out well. I mean, I love Eckler too, and I was ready to actually click Eckler. I'm so bullish on the Chargers this year. I know Steve is too. So anytime I can get any access to the Chargers, I was happy to go Eckler there. Let me bring up the board now.
Yeah, getting Cup at 6 is fun. I mean, he's, we've been talking about how running backs have upside, but man, the upside that Cup has flashed when he's been healthy the past couple of years is like, it's really on. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's kind of like an all-time run for a wide receiver in his last 20 healthy games. It's
absolutely.
Insane.
Absolutely. And that defense is going to be rough this year for the Rams. So I think they're just going to have to keep throwing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like last year, for as great as Jefferson was, like Kupp was outpacing him before the injury. So Kupp could have easily been wide receiver 1.
To the point we talked about earlier, Nick Chubb is kind of pretty much a first rounder of most drafts now. So he went 11. So it went AJ Brown, Nick Chubb, CD Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra. Wow, Amon-Ra. I've been taking Amon-Ra anywhere in the late first round now. I'm very, very bullish on the Lions as well, and have been taking a ton of Amon-Ra or as much as I can. Surprised he went second. He fell there. So we'll have pick number 19. Pollard is still there. Obviously, if he's there, I think that kind of speaks to what we're. Nope, he's not. So what would you look at here, Sam? Obviously, Waddle, Olave, Henry at the top of the board, and then of course Mahomes, Devontae Smith.
Man, this is a tough spot. I do really love when Pollard falls here.
Oh, and we took Henry too. Yeah. Okay, so we are on the clock. What do you like at? Yeah, this is a rough spot here.
Yeah, I think I would go Olave or Waddle here. I honestly don't have a ton of exposure to either of those guys because it was easy to get Pollard instead of them. But I think I would take one of those guys, and then we'll see.
All right, I went Waddle. Falls. It gives us an option if we want to do. I know it's the same bye week as Cup, which I try to be careful of, but it gives us option if we wanted to pair with Tua. Since that is one of the quarterbacks I like to pair with, and probably don't have enough stacks yet. So just want to give that option. So let me bring the board back up. And we'll be coming back around at pick 30. So it's to your point, the third round used to be that range where you were thinking, "Wow, I'm getting like such a good." I love the third round running backs. I used to almost exclusively take third round running backs, and now it's this uncomfortable situation for me.
Yeah, it has changed so much. It's funny.
It's so weird. Yeah. Earlier you mentioned, and you were much smarter than me to take a lot of Chubb. I took some Nick Chubb. I wish I would have taken way more because now I'm still taking him even late first round and stuff. But are you how are you handling kind of the third round now?
Yeah, I have been taking a lot of Lamar. I've been seemingly to get a ton of picks in the back half of the third round, so I've been getting Lamar a lot there because I do like pairing him with like Bateman late.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar and Andrews both go, so
just-
we don't have that option.
I mean, that's the only way you can get it.
That's exactly. That's the only way you can get it is if you get it that 1-2 turn. There's going to be a lot of Jefferson or Chase combined with Mark Andrews Lamar combos.
Yeah, I do also like with sort of some of the third down running backs. I really like. I still do think Brees and Ramondre can pay off, but I do think it is right for them to slide a little bit. So I have been going with like some of the elite quarterbacks here as well. Like if we get Allen or Hurts to fall, I like those selections.
Hurts just went. A cute Allen just to have, and then we have T. Higgins, Jonathan Taylor, who I have not been taking.
I'm kind of out on Taylor too.
Yeah, I'm out on Taylor too. Ramondre, that seems too early, at this point. It's just this. It's ironic that we were talking about, the running back situation and wanting to prioritize it. I was just about to say, but we can take Allen, and he just went right before
Higgins
us.
is there. I will say that.
Higgins.
I think that is good value on Higgins.
I like the value on Higgins. I would probably be him or Gibbs. So I don't know if you guys have a vote there.
I'm more in Gibbs on like the PPR sites. I just worry his touchdown equity could be really low.
I'm drafting a ton of David Montgomery on Underdog, hoping that I like David Montgomery all around. Think he can also, catch passes and be more than just what Jamal Williams did. But very, very high on David Montgomery.
So we talk about running backs, and then we just take all wide receivers.
The importance of running backs, and we just hammered 3 receivers. But no, I mean, this draft, it's really funny the way it unfolded, because I definitely would have taken Lamar. I definitely would have taken Josh Allen. I definitely would have taken, obviously Pollard or some of those other running backs, Henry. So very, very interesting. So,
did the Chase drafter take Mahomes?
No, they did. They're the ones.
Oh, they took Lamar.
They went one
because they went in the one.
I was asking about that because I don't want to curse us, but I think that gives us a good chance for Burrow to come back to our pick in the 5th, because they'll probably pass on Burrow.
That's true.
That's a good point.
So that's something interesting I watch for when I take T.
That's a great point. I definitely need to up my Burrow exposure too. So,
well, what about running backs now in the 4th round?
What's that?
I think we're going to get a running back we like here in the 4th.
I feel good about it. I feel good.
How do you feel about Mixon? I really like Mixon. And that would also further the chase.
I've been wanting to up my Mixon because I think the suspension risk is really low now.
I think it's gone.
And all the running backs are talking about go.
Wow, Brees Hall went 36 in this draft. There was no fall on him there.
Yeah, wow. This is a running back. Maybe we just talk the people into taking running back. I haven't seen a room like this in Underdog in a while.
I know, what is going on?
The handful of people that are watching live are.
Did we do this draft 6 weeks ago?
Well, I mean, I'm fine with Ramondre if he's still there.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the 4th round.
And he's not. Oh my God.
So who do we have at wide receiver? I think we can play this as like a 0 RB build if we want to take wide receiver.
So right now we have Cup, Waddle, Higgins, 17 seconds. It's Judy, Watson, Mike. I'm bullish Mike Williams, but
I like Mike Williams because then now we have 2 chances at
a quarterback.
At a stack. Yeah. I like that.
Then
I don't want to reach. I don't want to reach on a running back here.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's some guys there. Kenneth Walker. I don't know where you stand on him, but I love Kenneth Walker. Further down, I love Dameon Pierce, but. Yeah, I don't think you need to reach on that at all. So I'm going to queue up those 2 quarterbacks because, like you said, we have 2 stack options, and then then we are really going to hammer that running back position. Yeah. Show you guys how much that we love this running back. This is
fun. Not many rooms have pushed me into 0 RB this year, so this is fun. I think it's again like with my research, like it's not to say again if this happens to me like. I just think you need to load up at running back at a certain point. But on each individual pick, I'm open. Like if this is how the draft comes to me, I'll do this. And then, maybe we'll take running back in rounds 7 through 11. We'll take like 5 in a row, right?
Like, exactly. You talked about having 1, 4, 5. We still can get that. It's just
still possible. Yeah.
Just a different order.
And it's the thing, like, it might not be some of my favorite guys. Like, I'm not as high on like a Rashard White or somebody like that, or Pacheco I'm fine with, but getting some of those guys can be fine, in this type of build because, I mean, we might not hit the flex as much at running back as I typically think is more optimal with this type of build, but I still think we can.
Oh my God, strong. He did Joe Burrow and Lamar.
This is a wild
room is bananas.
And Herbert went also.
Herbert went to the team that took Josh Allen.
Yeah, Herbert went to the team that took Josh Allen.
What is going on?
Okay, Herbert. They did have Eckler. I will say that they did have Eckler, but the 2 double elite quarterback situations that sniped both the guys that we had queued up. So with some very nice stacks. Wow.
Well, that's all right. We got outs at quarterbacks later with the other receivers we took. Let's see.
I queued up Ken Walker. What are other running backs do you like? Our next 2 picks are going to be at 54 and 67. So what are your thoughts? Well, specifically at 54, obviously, would you be fine with Kenneth Walker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Walker there. But man, if he goes,
he's gone. I'm just gonna keep saying that.
This is unreal.
Yeah,
it's funny.
I have not. I mean, I joke about getting sniped a lot. I don't think that's happened ever. Certainly not on the live stream either.
What are the players at other positions? Because I do. Again, I haven't done this much, but I don't think it's crazy if we want to go like take a wide receiver here and then just end at like 6 wide receivers.
Yeah, I haven't done that much. I haven't done.
It's not my favorite way to do it, but.
Hopkins, Ayuk, Kirk, Deontay Johnson. We are on the clock. Tight ends is the Waller, Kittle, Pitts.
Yeah, Goddard. I don't like tight ends.
And then this is where we're at with quarterback.
I'd probably go I'd go Madison or I'd go Hopkins. I think.
Yeah. Let's
all right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the running back. Yeah. So we got our first running back. We have Alexander Madison. So we have Alexander Madison, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Mike Williams. Wow, I'm still blown away by the double elite quarterback situation that knocked out our 2 stacks.
Wait, did the guy who took Lawrence? He took 3 straight quarterbacks.
Oh, wow.
He took Allen, Herbert, and Lawrence.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Wow. Yeah, would not recommend that strategy, but
wow, maybe someone thought they were in a super flex. I don't know what. I literally feel like the Jim Halpert gif. What is happening? This is
this is one of the weirdest drafts I've ever had, but I'm loving it. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, not often are you like forced to pick a certain strategy, and we certainly were.
Yeah. I mean, I guess looking back on it. Oh no, we didn't even have a chance at Henry, right? He was gone before.
No.
Yeah. Because
I'm not really sure what we could have done.
The only thing we ever could have done get a running back is take Bijan over Cup. That would be because even Eckler went before him.
Yeah.
So literally that would have been the only time.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I mean, Cup I feel could be wide receiver 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Madison is a guy I know established a run. They're really high on him. He's a tough one for me. I have been taking him as he goes past ADP. I haven't been taking him a ton here, but given the room we're in, I think that is a fine pick. And I know smart folks who have him ranked around here, so it seems fine. I
like both Pierce, Dobbins. I mean, I kind of like this next group of running backs. What are your thoughts on Pierce, Dobbins, Sanders, Akers? Who are your favorites there?
I would probably have it ranked the same as ADP. I do like Pierce quite a bit in this group. He'll probably get sniped from us, but
yes, exactly. That's why I asked the rankings past it, because I'm ready for it to be like, and he's gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously looking at other positions, I mean, I love Jahan Dotson, but again, our receivers. I feel
Yeah, I think a running back here makes sense.
Yeah.
I like both these options at the top of our queue. If you guys are good with one of those two guys.
Yeah, Steve, are you good with either Pierce or Dobbins?
Pierce, I think, is definitely my favorite, though.
Yeah. Hopefully he holds here. The person ahead of us has 2 running backs, so maybe they don't take one from us this time.
Is this guy an auto? Oh yeah, it's a Kittle. Okay.
Okay, good. All right, there we go. We get Damian Pierce.
Yeah.
Excited to see what the 3 quarterback drafters. Are you going to take another quarterback here? Or
Let's see. He's on the clock now. Yeah, wow.
Wild
Allen, Herbert, Lawrence. That is wild. That's some wild stuff.
Yeah.
I assume none of that was obviously stacked.
I mean, the only thing is Eckler with
Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's definitely autoing.
Yeah, maybe it is. He must have.
Maybe he is, but I don't even know if some of these picks made sense were the ADP, like Lawrence.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be kind of a reach on Lawrence?
Yeah.
Well, and also Akers would have gone. We just saw Akers was above Sanders, so either he's autoing with his own rankings in there or something. Yeah.
Well, the running quarterbacks that we just queued up just went in order: Pierce, Sanders, Dobbins, Akers is how it went in the draft. I'm really glad we got Pierce. I really like that.
I like Pierce the most out of that group. Sanders has fallen quite a bit, and he's back at practice now. So
I feel good because I have plenty of shares. So I was a little nervous sweating that one out.
Yeah, he's not a guy. I didn't have a ton of him, but once he started falling, I've been taking a bunch recently because, I don't know. Like people knock his upside case, which I get, but at a certain price, he doesn't need to have the crazy high upside, really, right? So I've been liking him where he's pick 70 seems pretty good to me.
So a pick is 78. We could go numerous ways. I mean, the quarterbacks are Watson, Tua, Anthony Richardson, Dak. Then we've got James Cook, James Conner. And then Addison, Dotson. I mean, again, I like Addison, Dotson, and Brandon Cooks are my favorite in that range. What are your thoughts of the players available at this range at 78 with 2-4 as our situation right now?
I think I like Dotson. I'm good with Cook. I probably want to
more Cook.
Yeah, he has risen in price. So I'm like a little cognizant of that, but I think it kind of makes sense based on the preseason stuff.
Right.
Swift and Kamara I also like. I'm okay with here. Probably would like Swift better. Do you guys have a preference?
I mean, I'm fine with Cook just because I need to get more Cook. And I have, even though his price has risen, I'm fine at this price. I have a ton of Dotson, and I would be fine getting more because I think getting him as your 5th receiver is awesome. Then you could set up a late Sam Howell stack too. Okay, Cook went. So what is your guys' thoughts here?
Probably grab the value on Dotson, and
I'd say I'm actually surprised. He's been going earlier. So I'm surprised he fell a little bit here.
Where are you on James Conner?
He's a guy that I am fine with, and I do take a decent bit of Marquise Brown. So I've actually set up that pairing a decent bit where, I get where all the Cardinals are docked, but I also don't think that Kyler is going to sit the entire year. I don't know if he comes back week 4 or week 8 or whatever, but I don't know. Like, I think some of these Cardinals guys have kind of underrated upside. I think Kyler being out has like made us sour on them so much, but if Kyler can just be like a league average quarterback for the playoffs, and you have, Marquise Brown in the 6th round and James Conner, I know he's a boring guy that people don't want to get excited about, but James Conner in the Kyler Murray offense has been like a guy that's won people DFS tournaments. Like he's been a really heavy touch, high touchdown upside guy. So, he's a guy, maybe it's kind of a boring take, but I've kind of just been following him at ADP. He's not a priority target, but he's certainly a guy I'm willing to draft. Like I think he's a good talent, and I think the situation isn't as bad as people think. If Kyler, if Kyler never comes back and plays, it is as bad as people say it is. But if he comes back at some point, right? Like I don't think it's that bad, right? So
Well,
yeah, we'll see.
and I don't even know if Kyler's not the same or Kyler misses half the year, it's as bad, because you look at the second half of last year, and Connor had a number of like 15, 18, 20, low 20-point weeks. And a lot of those were when Kyler was out. And, many of those were still Colt McCoy, but one or two of those were with Trace McSorley and Bevan Fox. So, if it's Colt McCoy or that Clayton Tune, holding down the fort for the first 8 weeks until Kyler comes back, I think Connor can be fine. Like, yeah, you're probably not going to get like a 30-point game until Kyler gets back. But at this point, if he's hitting your lineup with 18-point weeks, I think you're golden.
Yeah.
While you guys quick break, I queued up Tua. We have Waddle. Figured that would be a good first quarterback to grab if he's falling at ADP. If he doesn't, then I'd say maybe a running back. What are your guys' thoughts? Tua is there. Are you guys okay with that?
I like Tua here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Miami is actually a team I've been slightly out on just because the Waddle price. I've had a hard time choosing Waddle over a lot of the running backs that go near him. But now that those running backs are getting priced up, I have been finding myself going to this Miami stack a little bit more.
Right.
I think the Tua thing's very volatile. Like, he was so good to start last year.
Yeah.
Then he had the injuries, and it kind of seemed like defenses figured out the Miami thing a little bit. So I'm a little spooked at that. But ultimately, like, once you pick Waddle, I'm looking for Tua. Like, that's such a nice correlated bet. I can see how it fails, but I definitely see the upside. So I think it's a smart pick.
I mean, I'm high, and this is definitely kind of not with the market necessarily. I mean, certainly on DraftKings, but also even on Underdog, I'm high on 3 quarterback builds just because I can see how it ping pongs your way, like to, getting to top 2 in your pod, and also kind of ping ponging your way through playoffs to have 3 stacks to give you 3 outs in playoffs. So I'm kind of big on leaning into that. So especially when in draft a quarterback later, especially when you have a guy like Tua that has a high risk injury. I definitely like taking 3 quarterback, kind of having 2 other insurance policies on to that.
But Goddard going on 93, I haven't seen him fall that much. That's a good pick for that team.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, Goddard's the other tight end that I like that high, just because, if you extrapolate what his per game averages were, he was basically on pace for 1,000-yard season as a tight end. It would have been like 995. And, I just think, the touchdowns were a little low, but that could easily go up. He's the one that I do like, not named Kelsey.
So we're up at 102, and since we're at 125, I queued up 3 running backs. Don't know your feelings on them. I obviously like Brian Robinson more, and I know Steve does too. I wanted your take on Gibson versus Robinson, and then I love AJ Dillon. I queued up Penny. Who are other running backs in this area you like? What are your thoughts about the running backs here?
Yeah, I like Dillon. My 3 here would be Dillon, Charbonnet, Robinson. I'm Robinson over Gibson.
Yeah,
we took Dotson, so I do like the running back wide receiver pairing, just betting on the Washington offense. I would be probably Robinson here if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Dotson and Robinson. I just wrote an article on FanSpeak about 10 guys that I'm trying to leave as many drafts with, and sure, we're Washington fans, but I am definitely trying to leave as many with Brian Robinson and Dotson, just at their prices and the impact that I think they can make, and to outperform those ADPs just seem too good to be true to me. So, they seem really, really great prices to outperform those ADPs. So I'm leaving a lot of drafts with Dotson and Robinson. But I also have a lot of Cowboys on my list too. So I'm not totally biased. So Sam, who's your team? Favorite team?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I'm in terms of fandom, I grew up in New England, so I'm a Patriots fan.
Okay, Pats fan. Okay. Well, then you've had a lot of good years, a lot of good.
Definitely spoiled as a Pats fan. When I was in middle school and high school is when they were on that crazy run of Super Bowls. So I definitely got to enjoy all that. But yeah, I'm I'm one of those Patriots fans that kind of became a Brady fan, so people hate me for that.
Oh.
I think the people who
It's hard
hated
not
the
to.
Patriots hate me
Yeah.
for that, and the people, everyone hates me for that. So I'll be out in the open on that take. Again, this will just make people hate me, but I didn't like how the Patriots kind of ended things with Brady. He just wanted like Ryan Tannehill level money, and they're like, oh, we'll just go with Cam Newton instead. And I was like, maybe surrounding Tom Brady with Mohamed Sanu and 32-year-old Julian Edelman, maybe that was the reason he was bad, and not because he was washed. So
well, and like taking like rando tight ends like Ryan Izzo and Dalton Keene and these guys like that to try and replace Gronk is like, I don't think that's going to work.
Just disaster from Belichick as a GM. The last 5 years has just been a disaster. So
well, we are up in one pick. We are at a 1-3-5 right now. Did you want to take another running back to kind of get to that 1-4-5, or who do you like on the board?
I love Charbonnet at 115.
Okay, we got him.
Are you guys in on that?
Yeah, and I don't have as enough shares yet, so good to get shares there, and he's also we're getting a little discount there too. So
full round discount. Yeah, I mean I like Walker a lot. It's a situation in Seattle where originally I thought you were asking who's my team in terms of exposures. I think Seattle's where I'm most overexposed. I got a ton of Charbonnet. I got a ton of Geno, a lot of Walker. Decent kind of even out exposures
on the receivers.
Yeah, I believe in Geno. I think he's kind of showed us for 2 years now that he's a good quarterback. People kind of forget when he subbed in for Russell Wilson the year before. He was actually pretty good in those games. So I don't think the Geno thing's a fluke. I'm pretty in on Seattle, so I want pieces of their offense.
Yep. All right. Well, I like it. Despite getting sniped left and right, we still, especially at the running back position, and we started with 1, 2, 3, 4 receivers. We got our quarterback in the 8th round. We still accomplished the 1-4-5 through 10 rounds. So I really, really like that. Feeling good about that.
That's the thing, right? Where you think if it's, going to be some crazy running back heavy room and we're going to get boxed out at running back. But if you just kind of trust, like, I'm just going to sort of take the values where I get them and the room will correct later. Like eventually, like we didn't have to reach on Charbonnet. We didn't have to reach on Robinson.
Right.
We didn't have to reach on, I forget who our second running back is now. Pierce. We got Pierce at a slight value. Like it does, these things kind of calibrate. So I do think sometimes people overreact. It's like, oh, I gotta chase all the wide receivers. They're going off the board. It's like, if you just take a deep breath, like draft the running back at the value, you're going to get the wide receiver values later. Like things generally do kind of swing like a pendulum in that way. So, I'm never like panicking early if things don't go to plan.
There has been times where I've panicked and made some bad negative EV moves. And so,
I have to. I certainly have to. Yeah.
And so it's like you said, I think we did not panic. We kind of laughed at what was going on and then just stayed to the board and it all, like you said, corrected. Wow. I'm a Washington fan, but if you looked at my exposures, you'd think I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I have so much of the Detroit Lions, 11 of 17 dome games, just very bullish on their offensive coordinator and that offense this year, great playoff schedule. Very bullish on Sam Laporta. 116 is the highest I've ever seen.
I haven't seen that yet.
So we're going to be up at 126. Actually, it's coming quick. So 2 picks away. What do you guys think here? Do we look into the tight ends? Do we look at second quarterback, receiver depth? What are you thinking?
We don't have any stacks in range here, really. I don't think.
Not really. That's what I was going to say.
Is Geno gone? I think he is. Yeah.
Well, I was going to maybe say an easy late stack to get is Daniel Jones still there? Or no, he's gone.
No, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's so easy to stack late.
Yeah. We bet on Pierce in terms of wide receivers. I don't mind. I think we're only going to have 7 wide receivers in this team.
Right.
We want to go Nico now, add to that Texans. I think that's fine. Who are the other running backs that are there?
I mean, it's a chain. I've taken a lot of Williams, Mitchell, Damian Harris, Algier. We are on the clock.
Yeah, for me, it'd be probably Mitchell or Nico. Open other suggestions, but those are probably my top 2 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Nico call.
Okay, I like the Nico call. I'm in on
Yeah, we
that.
get a half round of value. I mean, yeah, if we're betting on Dameon Pierce paying off, I think we're just betting on the Texans being like a functional offense, right?
Yeah,
And
unlike the last couple of years.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So I think that's pretty correlated. Again, these running back wide receivers things I do like quite a bit. Like I just like saying this offense is going to be good. You know, maybe in the same week, Nico and Pierce can't hit their ultimate ceiling in the same week, but if the Texans offense is just good, like we're going to get spike weeks out of both of them. So I think it's a good way to sort of leverage.
I mean, looking ahead at the board, we don't have. I mean, there are some of these quarterbacks that you can backstack. Are there thinking through kind of the next? I was going to say Geno, and then I didn't know if we could, backstack with a tight end or something. But are there any of these quarterbacks that you would want to backstack? Rodgers and Goff just went off the board, but I mean, I think we could certainly take Sam Howell later. We could even, I mean, I'm not big on Stroud, but we could, because we have the Houston offense. Is there any of these guys though?
I don't, if we get one of them at a value, I think I would, but for our next pick, I think I'm probably not looking at quarterbacks. We have Stafford, we got Howell, we got Stroud. So I think we can. So you're gonna be my thought.
Yeah, because the 139 is where we're up next. So would you want to go Higbee in case we can get Stafford?
I like Higbee. I think Schultz again. Houston going all in on the Houston Texans let me go wrong, but I don't think that's a terrible pick either. I'm probably Higbee over Schultz, but
I'm probably Higbee over Schultz. Then it gives us some options with the second. Oh wait, the Stafford and Tua are the same buy, right, Steve?
Yeah.
But,
this could be a
third quarterback.
This could be a 3 quarterback team, right?
Yeah.
If Mitchell's back at practice now, if that's not, if we want to be done at running back at 5, maybe
I also like Mostert too with that situation. Mitchell just went. I don't know how you feel about Algier, Mostert, Gainwell. Those are guys. Gainwell's price has risen like crazy. I got a lot of him late. So I mean, I don't mind the whole being done at running back thing, or I don't mind the Higbee call with 1 pick left. What do you got? We're on the board now.
I'd probably go Higbee.
What do you think?
Yeah, you like that? Good. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think Mostert's a good pick, but there's still plenty of running backs that we can.
Right.
And we already saw some like tight ends like a Laporta go early, and it's like tight ends have been getting some of these young tight ends, both the rookies and guys like Ferguson and Juwan Johnson are getting steamed up some. So
So what do you guys think? I'm thinking we're on track for a 3-5-7-3. Are you guys thinking about that too? Okay.
Yeah, and that's my typical build. Like, not that I don't stray away from that, but that is my typical build, because I do typically build out, like you said, that 1-4-5, and then I kind of just add, the tight ends later, the depth at quarterback, running back, receiver later. So that's what's your favorite? What build do you land on the most, Sam?
I'd probably land on 2-5-8-3 the most.
2-5-8-3, gotcha.
Yeah, because I have been, and this is more recent, maybe over the whole season, maybe 3-5-7-3. I definitely got a bunch of that early, but I have been the elite quarterbacks. I have been, a lot of times I just take whichever one of those elite quarterbacks falls to me in the mid third. Like when I get Josh Allen at pick 30, that feels pretty good. I guess I can see how the quarterbacks won't separate as much as they did last year, and like I take a small loss on that. But as long as Josh Allen or Mahomes or Jalen Hurts, as long as these guys don't get injured, like I don't see how they're not just like top 5 quarter. Like maybe you take a small loss on it, right? And you could have got, Deshaun Watson who comes close to those guys a couple rounds later, but it's just so hard for those guys not to be top 5 quarterbacks that they feel like safe picks that still have very high weekly ceiling. So I've been taking those guys a good bit.
Gotcha.
So that's what's put me closer to 2-5-8-3, I'd say.
Right. That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So we'll be back up at 150. What are your thoughts here? Schultz has fallen. Gerald Everett's there as well. That's the tight end board. And then I had Q Stafford. His ADP is 164 right now. And then I'll take a quick look over. That's the receivers. Mooney, Moore, Mingo, Thielen, Pierce, and then Gainwell. Gainwell's still there, which is, if you want to be done at running back. So, and then Roschon Johnson, Singletary, Zamir White, Jeff Wilson. What are your guys' thoughts here? Oh, Gainwell won.
I probably would. I mean, Schultz around and a half past ADP seems pretty good with the rest of our Texans bet. Yeah, again, I think like we don't need the Texans to be awesome if they're just like not a disaster. Like the prices are so depressed that I think it can all work out. That's probably my lean if he's here.
That's fine with me. If he, let's see. Yep. Steve, is that you good with that?
Yeah.
And then I think that's good because now we can really punt that third tight end now to the last round. Like I feel we got two pretty locked in starters now in Schultz and Higbee, so that gives us flexibility to maybe if we have to reach at quarterback or reach at running back, I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah. So the next 2 rounds will be up at 163 and 174. So I'd thrown in Jordan Love if he fell, because you can always backstack that with Musgrave as the third tight end, though he's been going a lot higher. We love Musgrave, but he's been definitely getting steamed up after preseason usage, which makes sense. Let's see, we're still 9 picks away, but we could really look at any position here, which is good. Kind of opens up.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Stafford, even though it's the same buy as Tua, if we're committed to going to 3 quarterbacks, I think he's a pretty strong pick for us.
Yeah.
Well, and then I forgot we have Kupp. I mean, we have Kupp as our first pick, so I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, and also with Stafford, like if they're anything close to, or Stafford's anything close to 2 years ago. I mean, I think he had like 7 weeks of 20+ point games.
Yeah.
I mean that kind of consistency can be huge.
Yeah. It's fun. Like I think the Tua Stafford thing is fun because like in a managed league, those guys are kind of drawing thin individually to compete with the dual threat quarterbacks. But on any given week, those pocket passers, if I guess maybe it's kind of a big if that Stafford can return to form. I'm kind of a believer he can. If Stafford returns to form and Tua is somewhat close to what we saw in the first half of last year in Miami, like. On any given week, that's a pretty high. Oh, and then he goes.
Oh, and there he goes.
we talked about too much.
Put it into the universe. Because I was thinking, oh God, this is really coming together because we've got Love or Kupp, and we got the Higbee. That's perfect. Yeah. It was too good to be true. Well, would you go Jordan Love falling 10 if he does fall 10 picks past ADP, and then then kind of queue up Musgrave?
Yeah, that's then Jaden Reed would also be an option.
Yeah,
there.
I love Jaden Reed too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through it. So who are other quarterback stack options are Howell
and Stroud.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I might. So is Jeff Wilson still available? Because I do kind of like him a good bit here.
Yeah, he is.
I do like that with our Miami bet, and now we can be done at running back. I kind of like that quite a bit. I think I've been reading some hype that he projects to be the starter in Miami right now. I think
really okay. I've been taking a good bit of Mostert, but I do need some more Wilson. So
I think they're both. I like both. I'm kind of right at market with them, and I think it's elite because they've both been so cheap. And now A-Chain's banged up and buried on the depth chart. I think A-Chain does have a role eventually, but I think you're going to get a lot of Wilson and Mostert for a lot of the season. And who knows, like A-Chain's a fun prospect, but man, 185-pound running backs, like if he just turns out to not be able to, hold up to NFL hits, like that shouldn't be a shock to anybody at his size. So Wilson and Mostert are proven NFL players. I like the price on Wilson quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I need some more Wilson shares in the portfolio. So that works out and goes with that Miami stack. So, so I like that. Yeah. And we're done at running back then. I feel good about getting that Wilson there because we did kind of punt running back a little bit early. So just to get a guy that I think he has a locked in role early in the season. That's going to help our sort of relatively
thinner running back room. So I like that a lot.
Steve will remind me about that a lot, about like, the projectable volume and the guys like that aren't just, I've really corrected myself for mistakes I made last year where I took way too many of like true handcuffs and those kind of running backs as my last running backs that ended up just being absolute stone zeros for me last year. But
I had 30% Chris Evans, so I'm
last year. Yes, Chris Evans and
Hassan Haskins.
Hassan Haskins. Yep, they were the poster boys of my. Those two are my worst of that. But I've been trying to be better about that. And so, like you said, getting that especially early season. But I just like that getting that locked in as the 5th running back. So.
Yeah.
Wow, Deuce Vaughn. The steam is real. The preseason steam is real. Wow. Luke
I'm glad we didn't take Love because we would have got sniped on Musgrave. That would have been tilting.
You would have. Yep, absolutely. And Jaden Reed and Musgrave right there.
Both gone.
Okay, so we'll be up at 174 in a couple picks. A little early for Hal, but what
are the other quarterbacks available? Is he the top? Because I'm probably just reaching for, because I don't think at this point if he's the top quarterback by ADP, and we have this drafter before us who took 4 quarterbacks. I don't think it's a reach to take Howell here. The quarterbacks are just drying up. I think we got to capitulate and just take him.
I agree. I agree.
He's one of the few guys kind of with upside left on the board. I would hate for us to miss out.
Right,
on
right. Just to try to get the ADP value. Yeah, I've been. Yeah. Glad he didn't take a 5th, and
I was worried. I mean,
I honestly didn't. That guy's a true wild card. I didn't know what he's going to
do. Okay, so we're probably looking 3 picks left. We're looking for probably one more tight end, one more receiver, one more quarterback. Quarterbacks. I don't know that we'll get any really good stack-worthy candidates. But we're at 187, 198, and 211. So, any thoughts on kind of how to? How do you kind of see playing out the last 3 rounds ideally, Sam?
Yeah. I think one quarterback, one wide receiver, one tight end. I think, Stroud, he's not a guy I have a ton of, but given our earlier picks, I think he's the pretty clear target at quarterback. I honestly, just with how weird this room is, I know it's going to be a reach again, but I wouldn't mind locking him up in the next pick because I think this is a 3 quarterback team. Oh wow, he is really late. So maybe we can wait. Let's see. Who would maybe if a tight end or wide receiver we really like Curtis Samuel could be interesting, right? With the rest of our Howell. Sorry, Steve, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say maybe tight end because that's been a little weird. Also,
Hunter Henry,
and then get Mac Jones as the third. Have Mac Jones as another third
as an option. I like that too.
I like that because tight end. I've been noticing that lately that tight ends in general have been just not just Luke Musgrave and Laporta, but just tight ends. My whole late round tight end strategy has been moved up essentially.
That's where I found myself taking much more of like the Higbees and the Chig Okonkwo's because it used to be so like I would literally wait till 16, 17, 18.
That's
Musgrave, Ferguson, Hunter Henry every time. Now you can't really do that anymore.
No. This is about the latest, so because after that, like Mayer's still there as the rookie.
Yeah, I like Mayer and Hurst are fine.
I saw your thread today. I know he's kind of battling out with Hooper. I think later in the season, I hope talent wins out and he's, more the tight end one. I hope so because I've drafted plenty of them, but the other rookie tight ends definitely have more of that tight end one kind of locked up, or in the case of Kincaid, that slot tight end situation.
Exactly.
So we do on Henry here, you think?
Go with Henry.
I think so.
I like that.
Gives us 2 options now for the third quarter.
Yeah. Let me just go ahead.
Who knows who's going to be there?
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
I'm shocked actually.
He goes so late. It's
I
mean, he had a good rookie year. I don't know. I guess I kind of get why he goes late. Like, what's really his upside? But I have a decent bit of Mac Jones with these late Patriots stacks, just where I need a quarterback. Like, he's going to play quarterback and. That's about all I can say. But
I like looking at the splits of Mac Jones with an offense coordinator, his rookie year and without last year. Much better,
Literally with and without an offensive. That's like one of the few quarterbacks you can do that split with.
So do you think we'd go our quarterback at 198 and then just take a flyer receiver? I mean, there's a lot of flyer receivers I like, honestly, in the 200s. I'd be fine doing that, because I think pushing it to 208, we could get boxed out of both even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way
I
this
think it's
room is.
Yeah.
Because there's some
It's
guys who only have
unnecessary
one right now, like this guy coming up. And
oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And he didn't take, who he's coming up again.
This guy's
they're
going to
gonna
go
hammer him.
Bryce because he just took Hubbard. Maybe he's setting up a Carolina thing. I hope. But yeah, there's no point in. I don't want to be left with two quarterbacks in this build, really.
Yeah. Right. No. I actually like how it's shaped up, considering we've.
Yeah.
I would say this has been one of the drafts I've been sniped the most, certainly on a live draft. But with that considered, I really like the way it's shaped up. I really like it.
So I guess, would you guys be on Stroud or Mac here? I think it's close for me. I think I would go Stroud just for like the untapped rookie upside. Maybe he rushes more than we think. Plus, we took like two of the top options in the team. But I can see the argument for Mac. Maybe we can put it to a vote. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'd probably lean Mac just because the AFC East is going to be in so many shootouts. I could see the AFC South being more like rock fights, kind of. And I just worry, but maybe he does run more to that point. But but I'm fine with either. Either, honestly.
I kind of lean Mac up because I actually do think he can. He's not going to get those like 30-point games, but he'll get like a few low 20s, and I don't know. I just feel the consistency there, given our other quarterbacks are Tua and Sam Howell.
Yep. I like that. Yeah, that's fair.
That's true.
He definitely projects better, and maybe we just want the
like
the
he's got better. I feel like median floor and median.
I like it.
All right,
let's
grab it, and we're betting in on the positive offensive coordinator correlation. So last pick of the draft here at 208. I know I have a lot of late round flyers I like, but Sam, I'll give the floor to you first. Who are your favorite late round flyer receivers?
I take a ton of Darius Slayton.
Same.
He always seems to be around. Michael Wilson, I like. Who's locked into a role.
Get more of that.
Josh Downs is someone I like. He played ahead of Isaiah McKenzie this past week in preseason. He's been playing ahead of him in practice. Again, it's going to be low volume passing offense. One kind of galaxy brain I'll throw out here that I haven't drafted yet, but given we took Mac Jones, where are you guys at on Kendrick Bourne? Like in the preseason game, he was clearly the wide receiver 3. He, had 800 yards or something 2 years ago. He drew targets in that game. Is that too thin for you guys?
I just worry that, I wouldn't be surprised if he is ahead of Tyquan Thornton, but I just don't know how far ahead he is. And they probably will use Gesicki enough to, keep that not being a true traditional wide receiver 3.
That's fair.
What are your thoughts? I know you mentioned Corey Davis in your thread the other day. I know that then you said it was a personal reason he was out, but I really like Corey Davis. I don't know how many week 7 buys we have at receiver.
I'm okay with it. Yeah. What are our buy situation actually?
We have 10. We are on the clock. 10, 10, 7, 5, 14, 7. So we do have 2 other week
Josh
7.
Reynolds is actually my favorite.
Yeah, he is one of my. What's your thoughts on him, Sam?
I think I would be Wilson here, just because
that's fine. I like that.
He seems out of this group, he seems the safest for a starting.
That's
role.
true.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
and given we only have 7 wide receivers, I think we don't want to take a 0 at it. So
right.
I like these other guys that you guys. I like Reynolds. I take him in golf stacks. I like Davis too, even though I am a little spooked with him on where exactly he sits on the depth chart because he's been out for personal reasons, whatever. I don't quite know what's going on, but I think he's 18th round. I've been taking him a little bit. So
we did get a couple questions. So you did get some good running backs for going 4 wide receiver start. So thank you. Yes, that was, and
I think it still worked out.
I was so focused that I missed some of these comments that, as we were getting sniped, I missed the chain. I mean, I'm fine with honestly kind of waiting on Mostert, and I was taking a chain early, but I'm kind of fine with the whole Mostert, Jeff Wilson situation. too.
Yeah,
I'm
I did have. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I took a decent bit of a chain early, but he's one buried on the depth chart. Two has this shoulder injury. I think he's going to be a free faller in ADP, and I think I'll get some chances at him at like 140, 150 if I just waited it out a little bit.
Right.
So I'm off him completely at ADP right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I also think he could be a guy more in like a 6 or even the 7 running back build, because he's probably not going to do much for you during the regular season, but maybe he's beaten out, say, Wilson or, somebody late in the year and, is giving you some spike weeks late, passing role. But that's my concern with the chain.
Yeah.
He's almost got no shot to help out the first, 8-10 weeks.
All right. Well, let me read the team and then get your final thoughts, Sam. We did the 3-5-7-3. I really like. We've got Tua, Sam Howell, Mac Jones, Alexander Madison, Damian Pierce, Brian Robinson, Zach Charbonnet, Jeff Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Jahan Dotson, Nico Collins, Michael Wilson, Tyler Higbee, Dalton Schultz, and Hunter Henry. I actually really like it, especially given the room we were in. What's your final thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, this is a fun team. It's a lot of like players that I don't necessarily draft a ton, but I think we did it really smart. Like we basically bet on Miami, Washington, Texans, and Patriots. And I think if we get 3 of those 4 things right, this team is really strong. Like I think even if one of those fail, like we kind of make concentrated bets on those offenses. And I think that's how you want to play it, right? Like you're trying to win a huge tournament. We got to have multiple big weeks to advance the regular season and then the playoffs. I like sort of the concentrated bets on a couple offenses, and
I do too.
We hope we're right. And structurally it makes a lot of sense. So I'm a fan of this team. I think it went well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think there's a chance we could be splitting $3 million, easy division, 3 ways.
Hey, that Miami, New England, that's the Week 17 game.
Right? I was just going to ask, that was my last question, not to get into like a big topic, but Sam, how often do you, is it just kind of like when it naturally comes, the whole Week 17 correlation? I mean, for me, it's kind of like there's so many teams that I'm high on that do kind of intersect Week 17 that it just kind of happens naturally with teams like Dallas and Detroit and Denver and Chargers and stuff like that. But how do you handle the Week 17 correlation? Are you constantly looking for it, or is it just if it kind of naturally fits in your structure, your build?
Yeah, I do definitely pay attention to it, but it's not like, I think some people have this mindset. They look at a team, they're like, oh no, Week 17 sacks, like you're dead. It's like we're talking about pretty small correlations. Like the bring back correlations do exist, but it is quite small. So it's not something I'm over indexing on, but it does help me break ties. Like I think maybe that's fair feedback for this draft, is we could have thought about it like a tiny bit more, but at the end of the day, like there's other things, ADP value, stacking players on a single team, the structure. I'm more focused on those things before I worry about the Week 17 correlation stuff. So that's my stance. Maybe kind of middle of the road compared to how most people think about it. That's
pretty much where I stand on it too. So Steve, any final questions for Sam before we get out of here?
No, I just thanks for coming on the show, and definitely have enjoyed all your work this year with particularly in the running backs, and I think it goes to show, like, not even when you get sniped early, like there's a way to still build a pretty strong running back room, and you don't need to I think it's the 0 RB teams that wait till like round 8 that are just really so thin at that point, like they've almost no shot. But like we didn't have a shot at running back in those first 4 rounds, and I think we still got a good group. So this actually ended up being a good draft to show that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, being flexible, I think, is key in these. And I'm never. People might read my research and be like, "Oh, he's ideologically like only drafting running backs early, no matter what." That's not how I'm playing these things. I'm flexible, and I agree with you, Steve. I do think that is a mistake this year. If you're, I think you could push it a little bit farther than us. If you wanted to go 5 wide receivers, a quarterback, and a tight end, I think that's okay. But then you really got to hammer running back. I see people do like crazy stuff on draft boards where they're taking their second quarterback before a running back or stuff like that. I'm like, it's tough for that to work out. So you gotta take the running backs at some point. I think we played it pretty well here, given the room we were handed.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good learning exercise. It was, learning on the go, or an exercise that just, played out, that really showed how you can do it the right way. And so I like it. Well, Sam, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time. And before you get out of here, please like this episode, subscribe to the FanSpeak Network, check out our content on fanspeak.com. We'll have strategy articles leading all the way up until the start of this season. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.